Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode of My Chaotic Budget. My name is Sandra and on this channel we do all things budget related as it pertains to mine and my husband's paychecks. And in this episode, we're going to try to create a budget closeout on a single page in our Erin Condren life planner. And we're going to try it out. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see if it works. If you have been following along, this is like a continuation of part 2, which dealt with a weekly check-in versus a paycheck closeout. And I think I'm going to go with the paycheck closeout and do a weekly check-in, but do it a bit differently. So let's look at what we've got. So right here, of course, this is my Mo term. On top is an Erin Condren little folio. I'm going to go ahead and take this off. It slips on. It does have this little band. It's supposed to go on top of planners, but I put it on top of this so that way I could carry it all together and take it to the living room if I need to. And so we're going to open this up and we're going to take out our planner. Okay, so in our planner, we're going to go to the very back. This is where we're test running our monthly layout. And I'm going to go ahead and see what we're going to do on this page. But before I put it there, we're going to come back here where we've been testing things out. So this is where I had first come up with the weekly check-in, and I was like, okay, this looks good. I might go ahead and do that. But I'm going to try out a couple of other things first. So I'm going to see how many lines there are, and then I'm going to try to plan it out. Let me clear the way here. Okay, so I'm going to take the ruler here, and I forgot that I had these. I got these from Daiso. These might come in handy to do other things, so I'm going to experiment a little bit with that too. All right, so what I would like to do is count out the lines, and we're going to see how many lines there are. All right, so in total, there are 28 lines, or if we want to think of it as 28 spaces, not including the very top. Okay, so 28 lines, and when I do a budget closeout, I like to think of, or my paycheck closeout, I like to think of income total. Okay, so like the total amount that was brought in. Then, of course, the bills. Then, let's see, savings, sinking funds, cash withdrawals. Those are the next things. Now, I do the GDGS after that. So I have groceries, dining out, gas, and spending. Okay, so these are the different categories that I keep track of here. So this would be, I would have to adjust this so that way I could bring it down. Paycheck, budget, closeout. So this would be me putting in all of the numbers for each of the paychecks. And usually there's 3 checks in a month, because it'll be my paycheck that covers the beginning of the month, and then my husband's paychecks that cover the middle and the end of the month. So that's what we're looking at here. So how many lines is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8. And there's 28. So that means we could probably do, let me see, 3. We could only do 3. We would not be able to do 4 at all. Because there would be about, 4 lines in between. So that would give us some space. Okay. So this is what I need. Now the other thing that I could put in here too is, let me see. This is the thought process, guys. This is the thought process, because I do want to keep track of each paycheck, and these are the categories that I track. So of course I would get all the totals from my ledger book, because I'm still using my ledger book, because that's what I take with me. This stays home. So I take my ledger book with me, and that's where I keep track of all the expenses. And then I put the information in here in the evening or throughout the day if I'm at home. So I definitely would look at something like this. Let me see. I think this could work. Okay, so I kind of like that. Now, what else could we do? So the weekly check-in then would be from, let me see, so weekly numbers. I think I'm going to keep the weekly numbers. You know, I really want to do that. Like, I want to look at the weekly numbers kind of like this, but I think I won't use the page for that. I think I'm only going to use the page for a paycheck budget closeout. And then over here, I can put my weekly numbers on the sidebar. And then that way I have those there. So it would be the weekly, but I would start, of course, just Monday through Friday. I mean, Monday through Sunday. And then keep my numbers over here on the side. Okay, so then let's see how we would do this. So this is what we want. So now that we've seen the lines and we see how many lines it takes. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We see that. Okay. So then let's come over here on this side and put it for each of the paychecks. So we're going to say paycheck number 1, budget closeout, and then we'll just put date. Okay. And then let's put a line and let's follow the categories that we would input. So we would put income, bills, savings, sinking funds, cash withdrawals. But then we could put these numbers across. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's see what it looks like, and then I can make a decision. So I'll be right back. Let me do this super quick. Okay, so as you can see, we can put all 3 paychecks on one page, which is great. But as I was doing this, something came across my mind. I could probably save space, and this is what I mean. So what I'm thinking now is I could probably turn this into 3 columns. So I could do this. I could put this down, put this down, put this down. Let me see, my lines are never straight. But that's okay. That's why these are test pages. This is just to test things out. Right? We could do this. And of course, I would use a ruler because if you can see, that was pretty bad. That was not even close to being a straight line. But if I would do it on that page, I would take the time. And I could say this. I could go, maybe I would even put a column over here. So maybe 4 columns. So it would be a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. And it would be paycheck number 1, number 2, number 3, and then total. And then I could write notes that I could take about that, and I could save space because all it is really inputting numbers. That I think is doable. I would make this into like a note section, and then if we get a bonus check like my husband or extra income, then I might just attach it to my check at the beginning of the month. So I would include his check and my check and then just make that as one big check instead of having 4 checks, 4 pay periods in a month. I think we could do that. Okay, I think this might be the route that I go. And I have been looking at more budgeting channels, and everybody does their own little thing. I've been, looking into some of the ones that have been suggested to me, and I see what they do, and they have it really well planned out. And it's just like, man, but I'm sure that in order to get there, it was a whole trial and error kind of process. And so that's what I have to go through. I have to go through my own trial and error and see what happens. But look at that. That saves so much space. So I need to figure out how I'm going to divide this into 5 columns. So let me see what the page length here is. So we're looking at, if we don't count this, we're looking at 6.5. And that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. So we would just have to move it over a little bit. In fact, if I move this over, let me see how I like the spacing of just putting the ruler up against the spiral, because this would make this column thicker, which would kind of need it. But let me see how I like it if it goes this other way. So 1, 2, okay. And then we go down I might go past it, but that's fine. I'm just going to see what it looks like. I would do a much better job on the actual page than the way that I'm doing it right now. Okay, and then we would put a line across, and then here we go. So paycheck. That's not bad. We can make that work, and we only have to write it once compared to having to do it multiple times. Look at that. That actually looks really good. Okay, so I think overall, instead of seeing it like this, because the only thing that would be that I could probably put here is notes, and then that way I could write different little notes that need to relate to each of the paychecks. But with the notes section being at the bottom, I think that could work. And look at this. Look at this. So we would use 5 times a 1/4 inch spacing. So we would use that to help with creating the columns. And I like the way it looks. And then these would be our budget closeouts, and just kind of putting in the numbers into one place. And then that way it can help with the monthly closeout like that, because then we could put in our final numbers over here, and then we could check them out and make sure that they all balanced out. Yes. All right. I'm committing to it. So now I'm going to go ahead and put it on this page here. So the last thing I was going to say is that at the end of a month, before I go ahead and write that in, when we come to the end of a month, you're going to see that there is another notes page. I need to figure out what I want to do with this notes page. I don't want to leave it blank. I want to make sure that I make use of it. So I've already figured out what I want to do. So if I make this page the paycheck budget closeout, so that way I can do the monthly closeout and put it over here, cross-reference, and put all the numbers in one place, that can work. But then what do I do with this page? So that's the next thing I need to figure out. I don't know what I want to do with this page yet. So I'm going to watch more budget videos, see how people use their budget, their planners, and take things, their notes. I don't think I'm going to do a weekly check-in in the traditional way, which of course is like this. I don't think I'm going to do that after all. If I were to, it would be this page. I would do that. But I think I'm going to end up doing the weekly check-ins on the sidebar, because then that way it's just the numbers that are on that page, and boom, we just match it. And it doesn't have to go towards a paycheck per se. Maybe it could just go for that week. I don't know yet. I still don't know. Okay, so I still have time to figure it out before the year, the actual stuff starts. So I may have to make a decision on that if I do want to make that a weekly check-in. I have already figured it out how I can, but now I got to figure out if I want to. Okay, so let me go ahead and create this over here in our sample experimental page. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so we finally put this in here. We've committed to it. We're going to do it. I think the spacing is off because now this one, because I did not account, I guess, for this spacing. So I'm going to have to make sure that I scoot this over. Maybe the first one will only be 4/4 or 1 inch. Maybe this first one will only be 1 inch, and then the rest of these will be an inch and a quarter. Inch and a quarter. And then that way they can even out better, because this spacing, I don't like how this one is so thin, and it's going to be the total. So the total has to be, of course, much bigger. So here we put number 1, number 2, number 3, and then we put totals. And I think, if anything, we put here rollover, because then we can put how much is going to go into the next check that comes up. That's okay. I'm just going to put a line. Not going to be perfect. Not right now. I am not feeling perfection right now. All right. So then we can put rollover here at the bottom, and then that way we can keep track of that too. Okay. That looks pretty good. And then over here we can put, I think we'll just write it in pen. That's fine. We'll put notes, and we'll just create this section where we can keep track of some notes for each of the paychecks. And then that way we are able to work that out. Okay, let's see how it looks side by side. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. That doesn't look too bad. I think it's kind of similar to something I tried to do in the dot grid notebook, but it didn't work out. But I like this. This looks good. I think I'm able to do it. And like I said, when it comes to the weekly, I will just keep track over here with weekly numbers. And then just kind of see how the week went, because that's basically what I want to try to do, is to see where our habits are once we get into regular paychecks, right? Regular paychecks, get things done. I think that's great. Okay, I like it. I like it. Let me know your thoughts. I know some of you like the fact that I was going to do Thursday through Wednesday, but it's just not going to work for me. I just can't. I really, really can't. Let me see. I was supposed to go to work today, but they had a school closure because of rain. So I stayed home and we had cereal for breakfast. Lunch is going to be leftovers. And then I gotta see what we're gonna do for dinner. But yeah, that's it. That's where we're at. I'm happy. I think we're going in the right direction. Now the next thing is just to figure out what we're going to do on this page right here at the end of a month. All right, guys. Well, that's it. That's all I've got for this video. Thank you for being here. As I said, this was a continuation of part 2 of this experiment that I'm trying for our budgeting. And part 3 is going to be just kind of summing it all up, and then what I finally decide to do on the last page. All right, guys. Well, that's it. That's all I've got. I will see you all in the next one. Bye.